Hey everyone, it's Daphne and I'm back to continue working on the Dreamland, and today we're going to complete page 4 and 5. Both 4 and 5 are mirror image, so everything we cut for page 4 you'll need to cut for page 5. We're going to change the orientation to make it a mirror, but it's going to be the same cut. So with that, I'm going to move the cover sheet and we're going to get started. So here's page 4, here's my page 5, and you're going to need 2 flaps, one for each page at 6.5 by 8. Score 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side, and you're going to need 2 pockets, 9 by 3.5, and you're going to score 1/2 inch on 3 of the 4 sides. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sit down and we're going to get these installed. I'm going to start on page 4. So here's my spine side. I'm going to attach my pocket to the spine side so that my flap will open away from the spine once I get it installed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the other pages we're not working on. So again, this is page 4 on the spine side. Actually, that's not very, I didn't do a very good job getting that in, so I'm going to try again. Just a minute. All right, I was looking for my spatula tool to see if I can't, lift this up a little. I got it in crooked, so I'm going to straighten it out. And this is always a little tricky, but if you haven't burnished yet, there's a good chance you can lift it. I just didn't get it in straight. Okay. And all of this is on the inside. It's going to get covered with a mat, so it won't show, even if you tear a little bit. There we go. Got it up. Sorry about that, guys. Start over. Now, if it's really sticky, the other alternative, I want to make sure, yeah, that's the spine side. The other alternative is to use a product called Undo, and it'll definitely loosen your tape up. I think part of my problem was I need a contrast sheet. There we go. Help me see that straight edge. Much better. Okay. So it is a pocket. So there it is. And I put it in a little bit crooked, but also it had quite a bit of a bubble, and I don't like a lot of that because I don't want whatever's in my pocket to fall out. So that's in. So the next piece on the opposite side, on the pocket side, I'm going to attach the flap. And I like to press down one corner and hold the rest up, and so I can pivot it until it's straight. Not my day-to-day, guys. That got away from me too. There we go. There we go. Much better. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and burnish that. All right, now we're ready for some magnets. And I am going to, I designed it so that the flap overlays the pocket. So there'll be a magnet on the top side of the pocket and then one on the flap. Okay. don't know why I have such a hard time with these, but I do. Okay, and so there's our magnet on the pocket and one on the flap, and I'm going to cover that with some tape. And it doesn't have to be double-sided tape, but I do it because I'm going to put a panel on top of it anyway. But it could just be any kind of tape, even like masking tape. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for page 5. So we're going to install the pocket, and it's going to be on, and I forgot to label this. So this will be P5, and this is going to be the spine. P6, and the spine will be on this side. Okay, so we're gonna, again, so this is gonna be a mirror, so the pocket's on the spine side on page 4, it's gonna be on the spine side on page 5 as well. Okay, I'm gonna scoot this out of the way so I can see the edges and try to get it in straight the first time. There we go. Okay, and then again, a large flap, and again, this 9 by 3.5, we're gonna score on 3 sides. This is 6.5 by 8, you're gonna score a 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side. And it is going to be applied to the outside of this pocket page where the insert would normally go in. It's going to be attached right to the edge. There we go. And this needs a magnet. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some more magnets to finish this project. Okay. All right. Make sure you. And there's our 2 magnets. Cover it with some tape and then we'll get to the designer layers. Okay, there we go. Okay, page 4, page 5. Love it. Okay, so what I've decided is for the inside, we are going to have this blue, this continuous blue pattern. So let's go ahead and lay that down. And then we'll come back to the outside in just a moment. There we go. So I'm going to start on page 4. I'm dry fitting my pocket piece and it looks really good. So I think I'm ready to start working with my glue. next. There we go. Beautiful. So that's in. Just working it around, especially around the magnet, because it is kind of close to the edge, so I want to make sure that I'm getting good adhesion all the way around. All right, and now this piece is going to slip just ever so slightly behind the pocket or in the pocket. Sorry, it's getting hung up on the flange there. There we go. And I'm just dry fitting, checking everything, make sure it looks good, and it does. Okay, there we go, looks good. Okay, I'm gonna stop and then switch over to page 5 and get these two pieces in, and then we'll come back to page 4. Okay, let me dry fit this real quick. Okay. I didn't do it on camera, but usually I dry fit my interactive components too, like the flap and the pocket, and I did that off camera. So even though I have a cut list, and I'm hoping that it's pretty precise, there's always times when you might need to trim just a little. Whenever you start dealing with putting folds in your paper, it can cause things to be a little bit smaller than you anticipated. So I always double check and dry fit this panel to make sure that my pocket isn't falling off or even less, not as wide as the pocket page itself. It's just a good practice to get into. And then I also do the same thing with, and you see me do it with the designer paper. And if you work with paper for any amount of time, you know it's very difficult to be completely precise in a cut list. So there's, check twice, cut once. And in fact, when I'm doing my original design, a lot of times I will overcut my pieces by 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, just to kind of get all the papers laid out across the pages to see how the patterns are being distributed. And then when I'm actually ready to install, I'll come back and cut that 1/8 or 1/4 inch off as I'm actually getting ready to put it in the book. It's just a practice that I've gotten into because, like I said, when you start dealing with folds and hinges, especially on pages where there's lots of interactivity, there's even a little bit of bowing that can occur that'll cause your paper not to cover as much space as you had anticipated. Okay, so these are both in, and I'm really liking that. So what are we doing next? So here is the plan for the cover, or the top flap. I'm going to use these two papers, and then I've got this from the cut apart of the 12 by 12 collection pack. By the way, this is an 8 by 8. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's 8 by 8. It might be Patterns and Solids. Yeah, this is from the Patterns and Solids. This is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. This is from the 8 by 8, and this is from the Patterns and Solids. So that's all the paper that we'll be using on these two pages. And so this is kind of what I've got laid out. Okay. So like I said, sometimes I'll overcut just trying to figure out how the patterns are going to flow, and this piece is definitely overcut. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down this pattern, and then I'm going to trim this one out to fit here perfectly. Looks good. Okay, let's double check our orientation. Yes, everything is right side up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this side as well. Make sure I've got everything inked. Yes, looks good. Dry fit. So this piece, the designer, the pattern paper that has the flowers, the floral, is going on the flap, and it's going toward the hinge, so that it's going to open this way, so it's going to be applied toward the hinge in both cases. Okay. All right, now this is the piece that's going to go here in both cases, so I'm going to need to trim these down. So let me get my fine tip pencil. Oops, I just broke the tip off. This is a little small, so I might have to do the actual, no, it looks like I got it. I was gonna say I might need to actually trim it down with a ruler, because this is starting to get to the size that's hard to manage in my trimmer. But I was successful, so we're gonna get this laid down. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm not gonna measure off this, I'm gonna measure off the panel itself. I'm always happier with that result, just because there's that slight variation between each panel. Okay, nicely done. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. And this, you know, color blocking can be tedious, so of course you could have covered this with a single piece of paper. I love color blocking. I just think it has a lot of interest to each one of the pages. Okay, let's see how we did. Yes, I'm happy with that. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it with the trimmer, but it came out just fine. Well, if you were watching my last video, you know that I'm kind of in the throes of a bathroom remodel. And it's Monday, and I got a call at the last minute saying they weren't going to show up today, which is kind of the good news because I get to finish this, but the bad news is everything takes longer than it should. And I'm ready to have my house back in order. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen this week. So I'm going to try to get through the rest of this today because I don't know when the next time it'll be quiet around here. Okay, so now, as I pointed out, I trimmed out these two pieces, which are off the 12 by 12 collection pack. I just think they're gorgeous. They remind me of bookmarks, but that's not what I'm going to use them for. I just think they're beautiful. So I'm planning on placing them right on the edge of the flap. And I'm going to try to just glue the side here because because this is 6 inches across, I want you to still be able to place photos slightly beneath it, or even a large 5x7. So my plan is to attach it here and leave this one side open. But before I do that, I'm going to line the back side so that when you open it, you don't just see a piece of black cardstock. But all that depends on what we lay down here. So let's do that next. So I'm going to do a little housekeeping here. All right. Now, I believe I had trimmed out some papers to go here. But I'm rethinking it. So you guys will have to bear with me. I love that pattern, but it's so bold. I'm afraid to keep using it over and over in the album. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so the other thing I'm planning on doing is putting 2 tags in here. Sorry, I've got a stray hair or a spider web. Something's driving me. 2 tags are going to go in each one of these side by side, and they're going to be horizontal, not vertical. So I'm thinking I might want to split this in half, up and down. So if I do that, what pattern choices do I have? And I would be something like this. Although I'm not liking those patterns. So I'm going to need a minute. I'll be back with some paper. Okay, I've come up with this paper. And sorry, my chair wasn't moving on me. And this is from the 8x8 pack. And I just trimmed it down to cover the whole panel. Just a single piece, and I'll probably add some embellishments later. And then, like I said, there'll be a couple of tags going in the pocket, so that's going to add a lot of flair to this page as well. Making sure I got good adhesion right around the magnet there. And that is pretty much the end of page 4, with the exception of adding this little piece to the top, but we still got to cover the back. And now that I know what this looks like, I'm probably going to use a piece of yellow. Okay, here's our other piece. It's inked and ready to go. Going to close, yeah, just want to make sure that nothing's in the hinge before I burnish everything into place, and it looks good. Looks very good. I'm happy with this. Okay. Okay. So here's how things are shaping up. this side and this side, and so I need something on the back side of each of these. And I think I'm gonna do a strip of yellow. It's not gonna show very much, but it will. There'll be some exposure. Yeah, so I'm gonna use a strip of yellow to cover the backs of each of these, and I think I'm probably gonna have to trim these by hand. Let's see, how much is this? This is 2 7/8. So I'm probably only going to have about a 1/2 inch exposed. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and trim this at about 1.5. So one of them's going to be short, but that's okay because I know this part's going to be underneath the panel. So I think that's good. Let's get some ink on it. So the important thing is to go back to your page. It's 5 and here's 4, and decide which one is going to go on which panel. And I think I had it planned this way. I don't know if I want them looking toward the page or looking toward each other, because that's the other option. If you can see the images kind of face each other. So I think that's what I'll do. So it's important because this isn't wide enough to cover the whole thing. I need to make sure I get it on the right side of each one of the elements here. Okay, so the side that's going to be exposed is over here. So I just need to make sure that my glue and I marry it up to this edge. Hopefully that's making sense. I know I'm not explaining it well, but visually I think you get the gist. So again, one more time, I'm going to test. So I know this is the side that's going to show when I flip it open. So let's make sure we get our paper in all the way to the edge on that side. So once I open it, you'll see that little sliver of yellow. So I'm not ready to tack that down. I'll go ahead and do this one, and then we'll tack them both down. Okay, good. Okay, so here's my exposed edge, so I definitely want to go in this direction. Okay, there we go. Okay, now they're going to be facing each other with a 1/2 inch gusset between them. So now I'm just looking for visual placement for these two elements. Do I want them completely symmetrical, or do I want them offset? And I always tend to go toward offset. I just think it's visually more pleasing, but it's really personal preference. So again, my plan is to leave this side open. So I'm only going to run a bead of glue right across the edge here. So I'm just going to put a quick reference mark. On the top and the bottom, so I know where to stop and start the glue. Okay. My goodness, I got a frog in my throat. Okay. And as planned, I'll have this so that you can slide your photo slightly behind it. Okay, and there's what the flip side looks like. I'll do that one more time. So I don't know what this is. I'm gonna do a quick measurement on it and see how far it is. So it's a 1/2 inch from the bottom, so I'm gonna go ahead and go a 1/2 inch from the top. And I'm not worried about precision. I'm just trying to get it, like I said, visually interesting. And then 2 reference marks, just so I know where to start and stop the glue. Okay, all right guys, we did good. We got 2 pages done. So page 4 and page 5, we're coming along, coming along. Okay, so the next time I sit down with you guys, we're gonna work on page 6. And you're gonna, as usual, start to see repeat in the flap and pocket design. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the first mirror page. Everything else is going to be a mirror from the previous 3 pages that we've already constructed. So it should go pretty quickly. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining us, and take a moment to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell, and you'll be notified every time we have new content. We do our best to get content out to you guys as quickly as possible when new releases are available. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. See you guys soon.